Hey folks, welcome back to Bird's Eye View. Today we're going to go in depth about migration. So let's start with the most obvious question. What exactly is migration?
Well, migration is moving from one area to another based on, whatever factors are important to you. For example, when people migrate, some people live up in the northern states for the summers and then they go to Florida or to Arizona for the winter because it's cold up here and we get a lot of snow and they don't like that. Birds follow the food. So they will go spend their winters in a place where there's more food, and a lot of them go into the southern United States. And then they'll come up north during the spring to nest. A lot of them have nesting areas in Canada and such, and that's when the food is plentiful there. So that's why they're going back and forth, is they're following the food.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Now, how far might some species of birds go when they migrate?
Some of them will go thousands of miles. Some of them, like Swainson's hawk, they go from Argentina in the very southern part of South America all the way up to the southern United States. Broad-winged hawks will spend their winters down in Mexico and Central America and come all the way up to Canada to breed. The longest one that we had here is we had a sharp-shinned hawk that was originally banded in Veracruz, Mexico, which is south of Mexico City. It had been banded down there, and we recaptured it here. So we found out how long that bird had gone to migrate.
That is quite a distance.
It is.
Boy, were his wings tired.
I'm sure.
Now, when a bird, such as a bird of prey, travels down south for the winter, will they nest there, or will they only nest up in their summer home up here?
Most birds of prey only have offspring once a year. So they will have, generally they're going up to their nesting areas in Canada and the Adirondacks in New York State and just the northern part of the United States, or as I said, into Canada. And that's where they're going to have their nesting spots. And many birds of prey, such as bald eagles and red-tailed hawks, they have what's called nest fidelity. They'll go back to the same nesting spot year after year after year. But when they're going south, they're going to eat, they're going to hang out, and they're gathering their strength and their energy to be able to go back to make that long trip back. But no, they only generally have one group of chicks a year.
All right, that makes sense. Now, how exactly does a bird find its way from its usual home up here, say in New York, all the way down to where it would thrive in the winter?
Well, that's a good question. We don't know exactly, why they pick the routes that they pick, but the one thing we do know from banding data is that they tend to pick the same route year after year. We have traded birds with banding stations often enough to know that when a bird picks a particular route going up north and how they come back, they tend to pick the same route year after year. We have what's called the circle route, where they're going up and they're coming around the bottom of Lake Erie and Lake Ontario and then going up around that eastern shore of Lake Ontario to go up into Canada. And when they come back, they tend to do it in reverse. They take the northern shore of the two lakes and then drop down. Some birds will pick a western route where they'll go up along the other side of the lakes, or some of them will take a little shortcut between Erie and Ontario and go up through the Niagara Peninsula. But not very many of them do that. But they'll do it year after year. So once they've picked a route that works, they don't tend to vary it.
Wow, I didn't know that. Now, I imagine a long journey like that would probably have some unpleasant surprises and dangers. So if I were to fly south and then fly back north again, what might I encounter along the way?
Well, I mean, there are problems with weather. Weather patterns will change, sometimes alter the routes, and that causes some dangers as well. There are a lot of man-made problems like electrical power lines. Wind turbine farms are a big problem for birds of prey. So there are some man-made problems, cars, windows, all those kinds of things. But also, one of the problems may be other hawks. if you're a little hawk like a kestrel or a sharp-shinned hawk, sometimes they get preyed upon by bigger hawks. I mean, one of the things that we have here sometimes is we'll have a sharp-shinned hawk come into one of our traps, and right behind it is a bigger hawk, such as a northern harrier, right behind it, trying to get that sharp-shinned hawk. So sometimes hawks can be their own worst, or owls. Owls are another problem.
Guess I better watch my tail feathers.
Yes, you do.
All right, I guess that wraps it up for this edition of Migration. So tune in for our final episode of Bird's Eye View, hopefully soon.